RETROSAURUS with Oli and Kev.
Well, welcome to RETROSAURUS with
me, Oli.
And me, Kev. And tonight we're going to be talking about the year 1980, the year in which Oli was born. Hallelujah, praise the Lord.
Hallelujah indeed. There was much rejoicing on the streets.
So, Oli, to start off tonight, I thought we would talk about the miracle on ice. Any ideas what that is?
Was it Torval and Dean?
No, it was nothing to do with Torval and Dean, strangely enough.
Oh,
it was because
okay.
in 1980, the Winter Olympics was held in Lake Placid.
Lake Flaccid or Lake Placid?
Lake Placid. It was a slightly livelier event than what you're used to. So it was like a men's hockey team amazed the world and themselves by beating the Soviet Union. Very important stuff in 1980, I should imagine.
Yeah, in the Cold War, most definitely.
Yeah, well, it was on ice.
Well, it would have to be. Ice hockey without ice is, I don't know, like hot dogs without buns. What would be the point? Eh?
Buns. The miracle, I think, is that there's any ice left at this point. Or maybe there was a bit more ice in 1980, but definitely not now.
Yeah, global warming wasn't much of a thing at that point. Yeah,
and the fact that anybody actually likes hockey, because it's really makes my mind boggle. However, shall I tell you what a real miracle on ice is?
No, go on.
It's trying to get a gin and tonic in a crowded gay bar where the barmen look like male models and you look like a hobbit.
So one gin to rule them all, right. One gin to find them.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know, you need a tactic in that kind of situation because if there's lots of gays vying for their attention, do you know what I do, or what I used to do? It's make seductive eye contact.
Okay.
I find that works every time.
They don't think you're having a stroke.
No, no, because you mentally visualize yourself getting the gin and tonic.
I see. And if you visualize it, if you imagine it, it will come.
Exactly.
So also in 1980, Richard Pryor was on fire.
Richard Pryor, the famous stand-up. I bet he wasn't just a stand-up though, was he? He did movies as well.
He did movies. He wrote movies as well. Yeah, he wrote Blazing Saddles along with Mel Brooks.
He's like a bit of a legend, in fact, in stand-up, right? He's like the man.
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
And he was on fire and literally on fire as well, mainly because of a mishap using some drugs, you know, as you do, I'm sure, and then, you know, setting himself on fire. In fact, there was a joke about it in Scrooged, the Bill Murray film, where someone he sees someone on fire and he throws some water over them, but it's just his imagination. And then he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were Richard Pryor."
Oh, really? That's brilliant. What a brilliant nugget of information that you just introduced there, Oli. Okay, Oli, so what I read was that he set himself ablaze with a cigarette lighter while freebasing cocaine. Now, freebasing, what is that exactly?
Well, it's to be where you basically put a lighter under some cocaine to make it more liquidy so you can induce it more into the bloodstream. And that's basically what it is.
So I heard that he had also set fire to his bed or something like that. But, you know, that's the thing, though. People think that comedians are totally happy, but it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. True. To be fair, I don't know about you, but when you have to change the sheets, it is quite annoying. So sometimes I would like to set the bed on fire instead.
The Elephant Man was made in the 80s, 1980.
A very good film. I'm Not an Animal.
Exactly. I am not an animal.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Typically what I shout when trying to get any decent level of customer service in Milan.
I'm sure that falls on deaf ears, though.
What's that? When I scream,
you say, I'm an animal. They're like, yeah, you're all animals. What's your problem?
I don't say I am an animal. I say I am not an animal.
Oh, I see. Maybe you should say I am an animal. Maybe
I cannot be caged or shackled.
But they know you in Milan. They know that you can be caged and shackled, and that's what you do on a Sunday night. So
they know for a fact that I'm going to be tapping away on TripAdvisor very soon afterwards, like a troll. Well, everyone needs a hobby. I mean, that's mine. You know,
they do. They do.
Anyway, The Elephant Man, interestingly enough, produced by Mel Brooks.
I mean, I don't know if he was going to turn it into a funny musical, but that could have been an option.
But that's why his name was left off it, because he didn't want it to be known as satire, because it was like a really
Yes.
serious thing about this deformed man.
Yeah, although I would like to see a Mel Brooks version of the Elephant Man. That would be fantastic.
You know what? I mean, it was very convincing, but I mean, had John Hurt not got the part, Frank Sidebottom would have done just as well.
True.
When I'm cleaning windows.
Oh, I thought that was George Formby.
Yeah, it was something to that effect, but it was just a guy with a paper mache head. Anyway, Merrick, the guy who was portrayed in the film, was once displayed in a shop window.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it was a pet shop.
Hey!
Okay, Ollie. So the book of the Bourne Identity was created in 1980. You know the film with what's his name, Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know anything about the Bourne Identity or the series.
Yes, I have watched it.
Okay, great. Why don't you tell us about that?
Is that what you wanted me to do? Is that what you want me to do? Sorry.
Yes,
I
that's
thought you were
okay.
just asking me a question.
That's okay. Maybe you forgot, like the Bourne character, like you had amnesia, and actually you work for the CIA as an asset.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's good, isn't it? Matt Damon. He's basically got a lot of specialist skills. Doesn't realize that he does, but then he realizes who he is and goes on a massive rampage. Who doesn't enjoy that? Especially when he destroys lots of places in Europe, because Europe's pretty disposable, really, especially if you're an American.
Why is that? Why is that?
They just smash everything, don't they? Everything in Europe gets smashed. The latest Mission Impossible film, for example, they're just smashing around Italy, Rome. Yeah. They're just smashing around the place. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
The first one was called The Bourne Identity, and they got super creative with the titles, by the way, because then they went on to The Bourne Supremacy. Supremacy is not a word I would just chuck around willy-nilly. I don't know about you. And then we get to The Bourne Ultimatum. So I thought of a few other titles, and I thought you could maybe rate them or tell me if you think they're any good.
Okay.
I've got the Bourne Non-Entity, where he just, you know how he's got this thing when he disappears, so he just disappears completely, and they never make another film again. I thought there was another title could be brilliant, The Bourne Tedium, where basically just Matt Damon just sits there and waits to be caught.
Oh, okay.
You know how he's being followed by other assets.
Yeah.
Don't look now. Don't look behind you. Why not? Because there's an asset. What do you mean, like property?
He was being followed by a house.
Oh, here's the very last one I've got here, which I think it should be the icing on the cake, which is The Bourne Obscenity, where basically Matt Damon flashes an old lady in the high street. Well, you know, there's a bit that totally impressed me in The Bourne Ultimatum, which is my favorite one, where there's this woman who's sort of searching for him, but she's sort of with him as well, and she's called Pamela Landy. But Matt Damon in these movies has this tendency to stand on top of buildings while people are on the phone to him, talking, thinking that he's in Guatemala or something. But he's not. Yeah. He's at this, on the roof of this building just across from them. And then they hear some sort of clue. He doesn't say, I'm standing on a building looking at you while you're on the phone and I'm on my cell phone, my government cell phone.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. It's like, says something like, something cryptic. And they go, oh my goodness, he's watching me. And from that, I thought this could be a really good title. The Bourne Memorandum, in which he sneaks into their offices and leaves a post-it on someone's desk when they're not there.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't that be the Bourne post-it note? So obviously I was born in August of 1980. Wasn't sure if you're aware of that or not, Kev, but
actually I wasn't. What date?
Yeah, the 21st. Close to this date, on August 17th, in Australia, baby Azira Chamberlain disappears from a campsite at Ayers Rock and is reportedly taken by a dingo. Only recently, wasn't it, that she was found innocent, basically? That was very plausible that the dingo did, in fact, eat the baby, rather than people just assume that she was lying and she went to jail. Apparently, the mother was only released after the baby's jacket was found near a dingo lair. So Lindy, the mother of the baby, was tried for murder and spent more than 3 years in prison. And the husband was also put in jail for some time. That is insane.
I feel so bad for them.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know, that fucking dingo. What
Yeah.
happened to the dingo?
Well, no one knows. No one knows. It probably went on to have a highly successful
Career in
career in comedy.
showbiz. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
Mr. Blobby. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Come on. You know,
Actually,
Mr.
maybe that's what it was. I think the dingo later became Noel Edmonds, but not many people know that.
You know, Mr. Blobby is about the only TV presenter at the moment that has not been convicted of a sex crime, or accused of one, rather.
Well, there's plenty of time. And also, I feel quite sorry for the parents because it's a genuine thing. And then it gets turned into this joke thing where everyone goes, maybe a dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, but that was thanks to Seinfeld. Well, Ollie, 1980 was obviously very significant for video games. In fact, the 80s in general, right? But 1980 brought us Pac-Man. What do you remember about Pac-Man?
Well, I just remember him eating ghosts and running around.
Yeah, I think it was like Pac-Man was like a pill addict that saw ghosts, a bit like Kanye West.
Was Pac-Man anti-Semitic as well? I didn't know. It's possible, I guess.
Yeah, but that's not obviously the only video game that came out in 1980. We also had Missile Command, Space Panic, which sounds like a really bad name for a game. In fact, other games that I thought would be great in that series would have been Anxiety Attack Aboard the Mothership, Epileptic Fit on Uranus, and what about Hissy Fit in a Black Hole?
Yeah, I think they'll be quite good. I think they'll be good movies as well. I think more than video games.
Space Invaders won the Game of the Year award.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
not surprisingly.
Great. It's still played now, isn't it? It's fantastic.
You had to be careful though with those joysticks because you could get joystick wrist. Loading those fucking video games though. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do.
You had a cassette.
Yes.
That made this terrible screeching noise that went on for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney got arrested in Japan because he was in possession of marijuana. 7.7 ounces of marijuana to be exact.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is quite a lot of marijuana.
It sounds a lot.
Yeah.
Not just for personal use then.
Apparently fans were stunned. Why would they be stunned?
Because they was passing them a bong with it in or something, maybe they were stunned that he was so generous.
But he was in Wings by this time. They'd already done everything there was to do.
And if you've heard Wings music, you really do need to be on some sort of drugs.
Yeah, but you know what really surprised me is that while they were in Wings is when they were taking coke and God knows what else. So and I didn't imagine Wings being something that was particularly rock and roll.
No, definitely not.
Although Live and Let Die is Paul McCartney in Wings, right?
Is it? Okay.
I think so. That is totally rock and roll. Later to be covered by Guns N' Roses. And
maybe that was more rock and roll.
But it sounded pretty much the same. The only thing that was different was Axl Rose's screeching vocals. Here's the scandalous thing about this whole thing about Paul McCartney smuggling ounces of drugs through customs at Japan is the fact that he's such a big star by then. He didn't even conceal it. Because apparently, nobody checked his luggage anyway. But on this occasion, on this occasion, so it was just all sitting on top of his stuff. And he could easily have gone to jail as well. So we wouldn't have been able to hear any wonderful music from Wings.
So you're saying it's a shame that the Japanese did not imprison him?
Kind of. Do you know what it was for me? It was Mull of Kintyre. That's what did it.
Oh, really? Not Ebony and Ivory with Michael Jackson. That was pretty awful.
But Mull of Kintyre and standing around in Aran sweaters in the Shetland Isles or whatever it was. So back in 1980, Dr. Ruth Westheimer launched her late night radio call-in show, Sexually Speaking. Ever heard of that, Ollie?
No, I have not. No.
Well, she was just this old woman, basically, the sex therapist, who was able to avoid the censors because she was very well trained and apparently because she had a doctorate. But she had the gift of the gab and Americans loved her, probably because it's the first time people were speaking frankly on the air about sex, and they wanted advice about it, I suppose.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, I've got a couple of quotes from old Dr. Ruth here. Sex is good, but not as good as fresh sweet corn.
Oh, I must get some fresh sweet corn then.
I told you she was an expert. Well, I wonder what she was doing with the sweet corn. Ribbed for her pleasure.
You get ribbed sweet corn in Italy. Is it a common thing?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. But I don't feel that people are defiling themselves with it.
No.
The second one is an orgasm is just a reflex, like a sneeze.
What about if you sneeze and orgasm at the same time?
In fact, this was my exact thought. Imagine having both of them together. Now, that would be a blast. Imagine, though, coming and sneezing at the same time onto the person that you're mounting. Great Kleenex ad that one would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Just saying, because I've got a lot of ideas for...
I'm not sure it'd be so good for Andrex, though. I don't think I want the puppies involved in this.
Another quote is, talking from morning to night about sex has helped my skiing because I talk about movement and looking good and about taking risks. First of all, I've seen this woman. She does not look like she could ski. She loves the movement, looking good and taking risks. So who knows, what's going on there. Looking good. I wonder what she was wearing on the slopes.
Maybe nothing.
Could be maybe just some nipple tassels or something like that.
Yeah.
Tasteful. My goodness. And she must have been like 70 at the time. So can you imagine? The tassels would definitely interfere with the skis, I think.
Could be a hazard.
If you've got a couple, exactly. You've got a couple of low hangers like that. Moving on. Sad news. The murder of John Lennon.
Yeah.
Were you a big fan of John Lennon, Ollie?
Well, I mean, obviously I was born in 1980, so I couldn't really, call myself a fan at that stage. But I think once I became aware, he was good, wasn't he? He was good. They did all right, the Beatles. Not so much solo-wise.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe in the 70s and 80s he was pretty popular, but I think there are people who had grown up with the Beatles who then moved on to whatever bands they were in after that. I
can't think of anything that he did on his own apart from Imagine, which is obviously the song that everyone knows.
Well, what I wanted to talk about was not so much John Lennon's killer and stuff like that, because it's a bit sad and stuff. But what's really interesting about the building, it was called the Dakota Building. I don't know if you knew that. And it's actually where Rosemary's Baby was filmed.
Oh, the scary place.
Have you seen that?
I've read the book.
I've read the book. Was the book any good?
It was good. I haven't seen the film, though. Was the film any good?
Well, this is the thing. Roman Polanski usually is amazing. This film, I found it to be absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
It's if I remember correctly, it's like there's a man and a woman move into the Dakota Building, which is a bit spooky as it happens. And Mia Farrow, one evening, is in some sort of dream sequence, has sex with a demon, or with the devil himself, by the way.
Okay.
In the basement.
Oh, well, he never goes anywhere classy, does he?
No. Well, why would you? I mean, you're the devil.
I mean, no whining and dining, nothing.
So she has a baby, of course, Rosemary's Baby. And then the baby's born, but there's like this weird old couple living in the building, and everybody's kind of weird. And then at the end, they're all in their house, all shouting, "Hail Satan! Hail Satan!" for no reason other than to hail Satan, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was totally and utterly ridiculous, but it's like this massive cult classic. There's a few stories also about people having seen ghosts, like Yoko Ono said she had seen John Lennon's ghost after he died. And then John Lennon had seen the ghost of a woman. But added to that, there's like a whole load of people who wanted to be in the condominium but were refused. I know that Madonna was one of them who was refused. Can you imagine anyone refusing Madonna? Clearly, this is a condominium who are very, very uppity indeed.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I do remember in the film Shallow Grave that Ewan McGregor and all of his pretentious cronies were interviewing candidates to be flatmates.
Yes.
I think they were definitely in Edinburgh, which sounds like the sort of thing that might happen in sort of upper class Edinburgh society. I don't know if you've spent much time in Edinburgh.
Well, I have, but not in upper class society in Edinburgh. Definitely not. No, probably more in the gutter.
Ollie, do you want me to run through a few celebrity births from 1980, apart from you?
Definitely, apart from me. Who more famous than me was born?
Well, what have we got? Kim Kardashian.
Oh, dear.
Now, I don't actually know that much about her.
Okay.
I know she's like a worldwide phenomenon, but I've never watched her program.
Her father had notoriety as he was a lawyer, and he was one of the lawyers defending his friend O.J. Simpson.
If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Well, he didn't say that line. That was the more expensive attorney on that defense team.
The more expensive.
But he was one of them, basically. He was his friend and put him in touch with that lawyer, basically.
What a fiasco. Ryan Gosling.
Oh, well, that I'm all on board for, he's a fantastic Ken. So,
I have to say, thank the Lord. Macaulay Culkin, star of Home Alone and Meltdown in Public. What else have we got? Films that came out. So, The Fog by John Carpenter. Ollie, have you seen it?
I haven't. Have you?
No, I don't think so. I couldn't see anything.
Oh.
So, lastly, there was this gay porn film called Flash Gordon. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have seen it, but I didn't realize it was put in that category.
I thought, well, no, I mean, that's clearly what it was. Did you see those costumes?
Oh, I saw the costumes, but I never saw the any kind of erotic sex going on. Maybe I missed that.
There's this guy, this porn star called Flash Gordon, who was an American football player from Earth who finds himself on the planet Mongo and has this big face-off with Ming the Merciless. Great name, by the way, if you ever want to have a nickname. That's a good one to have. Played by Max von Sydow.
Yeah, very famous actor.
Who else is in it? Oh, yeah, and there's this guy called Prince Vulton, played by Brian Blessed, who goes around dressed as a Roman with wings.
It's incredible.
Do
Dive.
you know, I heard that it was almost directed by George Lucas. It would have been so much better had it been done. Because he was a big, George Lucas was like a big Flash Gordon fan from the comics.
Yes, that's right, because this is all based on the comics. Yes,
right.
I could see that. But it was directed perfectly reasonably, I thought. It was quite good fun. And the Queen soundtrack, come on.
You know that Dino De Laurentiis, who produced it, didn't know who Queen were.
Oh.
In fact, he famously said, "Who are the Queens?"
So, Kev, I think the 1980s was good. And I have to say, I think you could do no worse than just watching Flash Gordon from 1980 to 1989 on a continuous loop and then just fade into the 90s. I think that would actually do you quite well. I don't know what you do about food and sleeping and stuff, but...
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it would be great. You could just replace any social media activity with Flash Gordon and it would be the same. The only things that would be missing would be pictures of people's food and pictures of their cats that get 9 million likes, as opposed to people with real talent who post things that are actually good that get 0 likes.
Again, sounding quite personal there.
Just saying.
I wonder what Dr. Ruth would say about this.
I think she would be wholeheartedly behind me. Literally. With a strap
with a corn on the cob.
With a strap on, yeah.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go and listen to all of Dr. Ruth's radio programs from the 1980s.
Do it. And munch on some corn while you're at it.
Munch on some corn and maybe even go skiing. Who knows? And
on that note,
I've been Oli.
And I've been Kev, and it's been a blast on RETROSAURUS. See you next time.
Bye.